Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
So, sister, the only thing that you have to figure out is, does this work for me? So, interesting happening in Canada right now. Pot, marijuana, is legal in Canada as of tomorrow. And that's federally. Now, I live in the province of BC, British Columbia. Beautiful Victoria, and which happens to be the capital of BC. Little geography lesson there for you. But we, in BC, and we lived here for a little bit over 2 years, pot's been legal. There's pharmacies, weed pharmacies that are literally so my husband takes CBD tablets. He has Crohn's disease, and so he's finding it's actually kind of helping him sleep at night. He's tried different ones, and felt kind of loopy on some of them. You can use different forms of marijuana that's not going to have that high feeling, right? So he's kind of found now a tablet he's taking at night, and it really helps him to sleep. And when he can sleep, his body can heal. He gets enough rest, all this stuff. So it's actually it's really cool that way. It was kind of, at first I thought it was well, you have to have a medical note for it. Well, no, you just have to be over 18. I mean, that's it kind of thing. But if you've ever seen the show Weeds from a while back, I don't know when that was on. This was pre-Netflix and everything, and pre-Apple TV, and I think it might have been on Showtime or HBO or something like that. But I remember when, I guess it was some point in the series, that they actually opened up a weed store, and it's legal in some states, isn't it? From my American sisters, California, my husband thought Colorado, I don't know, is it not legal in some states? But this, I remember one of the scenes in it, and it was it was almost like you go into a butcher, and they've got all the different meat with the little sticks in it that show what that meat is, how much per pound and stuff. That's kind of what it was this really very classy store. And so I remember when Ed, the first time he went in, and he was Karen, it's like a Starbucks. It's unreal. You go in and past these doors, and the pharmacies are everywhere. Everywhere. Or the pharmacies, or they call them, are dispensaries. And so it's always been here in BC, or at least since we've been here for 2 years, and quite some while before that. But so it'll be federally, and so there's kind of the discussion about it, right? Of is this a good thing? Is it not a good thing? Government's going to take their cut now. I guess, whatever. Alcohol's legal. People have been using pot for a long, long time. And not necessarily seen as it's the gateway drug to other things. I mean, maybe. But here's the thing that I think I really want to talk about, is that I think regardless, pot would be an example. And actually, sidebar, I'm going to mention one more thing. Seth Rogen, who you probably know Seth Rogen, comedian, actor. He wrote and had a little small part in Superbad. He's been in Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin, and just tons of movies. Hilarious. Pineapple Express. And he I wouldn't say he speaks out, but he's definitely one of the public weed users. And, he really claims that weed helps him be creative. It helps him to be able to write, helps him to focus. He kind of feels that he was the kid that would have been put on all sorts of drugs like Ritalin. If he didn't have an outlet, and that the weed just really helps him to function. He's not high and stuff all the time, but it just helps him to function and to focus. And it's weed, so it's not it's a synthetic kind of thing. At least I guess you'd have to, it depends on where you get it, right? I think the other thing of these pharmacies is you're not going to necessarily have the stuff that's on the street that's cut with all these other crazy ass shit and stuff just to make the drug make more of it so they can make more money off of it, and they put all sorts of stuff that could really, really harm you in it, or other drugs that they might lace inside of that. And so at least through the pharmacies, it's, that you're getting these certain strains and varieties. But yeah, I was saying it's when he first came in, it's like you walk into a Starbucks, like they're like, this is the different types of weed. Here's the different, levels of THC that's in it, which gives you that high factor or not high factor. Here's where this is from. Like it was like I'm gonna say a smorgasbord, but like a gourmet shop, right? Where they know their product, they can talk to you about it. They're like, what are you using it for? And like, how do you react to things? And just this, like a concierge kind of service, like wild, right? But I think the biggest thing is for some people it works, for some it doesn't, right? There are some things in life that are going to work for you and some things that just, they do not work for you, right? They just don't. I'm trying to think of some other like good examples of that then too. Well, I'll tell you right now, I have used this past summer as I felt my body kind of going through this breaking, and I shouldn't say my body. It started with my body, but my soul, my heart going through this just breaking open, this breakdown, this, all the things I'll be writing about in my upcoming book. And I've shared actually a lot here in the podcast and written things on Facebook and Instagram. And, but I thought for, a New York minute, I thought for a split second that, you know what, maybe I'm just not supposed to be working. Maybe I just need to be home with the kids. Like, I just never saw myself as I shouldn't say never saw myself. I tried to fit into that, like, to be a stay-at-home mom. I was like, maybe I should. So I really use that. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to kind of act as if, like, here I am, the stay-at-home mom, right? Now, the summertime, the kids were in a lot of different camps, but there were a lot of camps that didn't work out. But what I realized in that experience, and then even when school came along, or I was like, homeschooling, like, yeah, when I homeschool the kids and be hands-on with them, it's like, what I realized is that I need to have that space for me. I cannot be with my kids 24/7. Now listen, those of you that stay-at-home moms, and that you really feel is your passion and your purpose, and you're probably really good at it, like, I love that. Hats off to you, sister. But it doesn't work for me. I need to have that time and space for me, and have that time and space to create. It makes me a better mom, and there's no guilt, there's no like, oh, well, I should, and people will say things like, well, if you can be home with the kids, you should. Well, no, I don't fucking think that. I think that's stupid to say. Who is anybody to say what should be right or not right for you? You know. But I know that just does not work for me. It doesn't work for me. For me to continue to be the woman that was just like everything's fast, moving, action, like just keep doing things, and have every minute filled up my day, because that used to be me. That does not serve me any longer, if it ever really did. It doesn't work for me. And you might have some people that you go like, oh, I love that, I love the intensity. Yeah, I used to get a high from that too. I used to get, something from that. But you know what? It does not work for me any longer. It just doesn't. What's something else that doesn't really work for me? I don't know. Not having date nights with my husband. Or I'd say if anything when it comes to our marriage of like, just, holding back my feelings, or like not being forthright about what I'm feeling, right? If I'm upset about something and if my husband would say like, what's wrong? What's going on? It's like, I'm fine. It's fine. I mean, I can remember having that kind of conversation, years ago, but that doesn't work for me any longer. What does work for me is to be honest. What no longer also works for me is being just a complete freaking hothead sometimes and just like going off the rails and being reactive, right? It doesn't work for me to not create some kind of space and pause in my responses, particularly when it's necessary, particularly when I feel myself triggered and fired up, right? Particularly when I'm trying to accomplish something, right? Like kids getting out the door to school in the morning, or I'm trying to get some writing done or something. Like, it doesn't serve me. It does not work for me to be in that space. Now, you might be someone different. You might go, no, I need to get like fired up to do things. Like I need to get like pissed off. Okay, cool. And there's nothing wrong with anger. I think anger has a place. I think anger, can create movements. And I think anger can push things through and can fight for justice and all sorts of things. Sometimes great things come out of anger, like that's okay. But for me to be in that state a lot of the time, it just like, it no longer works for me. So here's what I want you to use your more tip today, sister, is I want you to take a look at something or some way that you were showing up in your life, or some relationship, or some action, or some place, or I don't know, something that just simply no longer serves you in your life. Like it doesn't work for you. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean that if it's a relationship that person's wrong, right? Or a bad person, or it doesn't, it does not work for you. It just doesn't. It doesn't work for you any longer. And again, maybe it never did. But it's simply your awareness and your awakening to the fact that you don't have to have people in your life, have experiences, do things, can even just be a belief system, have belief systems that you keep holding on to because you feel that, well, you've known that person since high school. Or this is just something that you do. Or, this is how you were raised. I remember that would be so much of, I remember when I was in practice as a chiropractor and be talking about diet at some point, and people say, well, this is just the way I was raised. And I'm like, okay, cool. So it was the way you're raised. You were now 43. And if that's something that's no longer working for you, then it might be important that you consider something different. It doesn't matter how you were raised. Listen, people can be raised in a racist home, but it doesn't mean that they have to become a racist. They can be raised in an abusive home, but it doesn't mean that because you were beaten as a child or were, physically or verbally abused or something, that somehow that's just the way you were raised. So you can do that to your children, right? We don't see those examples and go, well, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you hold on to something that no longer serves you? And that's really the purpose of this whole discussion, is like, listen, you gotta, and it can be things, by the way, that work for you for a while in your life. Like, I did CrossFit for 8 years. I literally lifted weights from the age of 15. When I first got turned on to it, it was like my whole world changed at the age of 15, taking a weightlifting course at the local YMCA in 1984 at the age of 15. Women weren't really lifting weights then. I was like, man, this is pretty awesome. I feel strong. I feel powerful. And lifted from then. So from 15 until, when did we move here? 46? No. I've been here for 2 years now. 47. Age of 47, because I turned 49 this year. The age of 47. And then I started boxing, and I was like, I can't really do both. And I really love to box. And there's nothing wrong with CrossFit, and there's nothing wrong with lifting, and it's still amazing, but I just really liked this instead. It was just no longer working for me. Something I had done for 32 years. I mean, Jesus, right? And I could keep lifting because I would go, well, this is the way I could get strong, and this is the way I did, and got fast and stayed lean and have muscles and feel powerful and all this. But I found this new way that gave me so much of that and more. And it just no longer served me. It just no longer worked for me. So what is it for you, sister, that's no longer working? I want you to identify what that is. And the second piece is this, are you going to listen to that and choose to simply walk away, walk away from the relationship, or just don't put energy in? Maybe it's a friendship where you just kind of, you hang out occasionally, but, to be really close friends doesn't work for you. So you just, let it kind of, I don't know, run its course, right? Maybe it's an experience. Maybe it's something like with me, just sharing with CrossFit. You're just you know what? This doesn't serve me. There's something else my body's saying that I really need. Right now, then for fitness, I box 2-3 days a week. I swim. I'm heading to the pool right now to take a swim lesson. And I started taking spin classes. I love it. Stand-up paddleboard. Let's get a little cooler for paddleboarding. These are all things that they really work for me now. And if I was to continue to do something that doesn't work for me, well, this is also too when you you lose motivation. You just stop showing up for things. You just don't put your effort in. So what is that thing that's no longer working for you? And the second piece is, I think just ask yourself, what are you going to choose to do about it? And if you're you know what, it is something I just need to kind of walk away from, then do something in the next 1-2 days. And it can be really just simply, it's just an intention, right? It could be an acceptance and awareness, like maybe, hey, this is a belief system. It's not working for me any longer. And I'm just going to choose to let this go. All right, sister, finishing up. One thing I want you to do, because as the book is rolling out sometime by the end of 2019, I want you to make sure that you were privy to it, and that you get kind of like first in, and that you get these great training videos that I give you when you subscribe to the Women Wanting More newsletter, and we stay connected. And right now I mail it about 2 or 3 times a week. I used to be daily, it used to be 5 times a week, and now I'm doing it 2 or 3 days. They're not scheduled. They're probably going to feel a lot more just like conversation with you, kind of like I do here in the podcast. So to make sure to get on the newsletter and get all the good stuff that comes along with that, head over to drkarenosburn.com. So that's spelled drkarenosburn.com/action guide. And it's drkarenosburn.com/action guide, because I'm also going to send you the More for Action guide and how to start your day in a place of power. So that's at drkarenosburn.com/action guide. So I will talk to you in the next episode. A life of more is just one step away from you walking away from the things that do not serve you, that do not work for you. Every single day, I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosburn.com/newsletter.